Anger is a great power. It can drive us to do great or terrible things. If left unchecked, it can bring destruction down upon us. This is the story of an emperor consumed by rage, and the man who tried to save him from himself. Nero Claudius Caesar, one of Rome's most notorious emperors, a man with a poor reputation, remembered only for his profligacy, cruelty, and a rage that knew no limits. For the first few years, Rome flourished under his reign. Nero was young, ambitious, and advised by wise men like Seneca, one of Rome's greatest Stoic teachers, who spent years guiding Nero toward restraint and stability. He warned him that anger would sow the seeds of his own destruction. But soon, his youthful zeal gave way to something far more sinister, and it all began with his own mother. They say a mother's love is unconditional, but Agrippina's love came with a price: absolute control. She ensured Nero's ascent to power by removing every obstacle in his way. Even his stepfather, Emperor Claudius, who mysteriously fell ill after a meal of poisoned food. After that, Nero ascended the throne at just 16 years of age. His mother ruled from the shadows, dictating his every move. She had given him power, but later on, he wanted that power all for himself. As time passed, Nero became increasingly hostile. Some say it was his mother's domineering influence. Others say it was his own hubris. He consequently had his mother killed, including poisoning a shipwreck attempt to drown her and sending assassins to her own home. His anger grew more fiery and consumed many victims in its wake. As for his first wife, Octavia, Nero accused her of adultery and conspiracy. He condemned her, exiled her, and finally ordered her death. She was executed by having her veins cut open in a hot bath, a gruesome and slow death. Some sources even claim that her severed head was presented to Nero's new wife, Poppaea. She too wasn't spared from his wrath. In fact, Nero was implicated in killing her as well. According to some accounts, while she was awaiting the birth of her second child, she quarreled fiercely with Nero over him spending too much time at the races. In a fit of rage, Nero kicked her in the stomach, causing her death. Then came the enablers, men like Tigellinus, who fueled his anger and his thirst for revenge. He served as Nero's key advisor, quickly becoming the dominant influence in his court. Unlike Seneca, who urged Nero to rule wisely, Tigellinus actively encouraged his cruel and indulgent behavior, which led to the executions of perceived enemies and political rivals. Eventually, Seneca resigned his post and later on accused of conspiracy, for which he was forced to take his own life. Then came the Great Fire of Rome, which consumed the city for days. Some said it was an accident, others believed it was Nero himself. So when the people began to suspect him, Nero found a convenient scapegoat. He blamed and persecuted the Christians, having many of them brutally executed in public spectacles. Some were burned alive as human torches to illuminate his gardens, while others were torn apart by wild animals in the arena. At that point, Nero engulfed Rome in tyranny, which created so many enemies that he was declared an enemy of the state. His allies deserted him, and many more were trying to capture him. With nowhere left to hide, he committed suicide and turned the blade on himself. From this story, we can learn a very important lesson from the words of Nero's key advisor, Seneca. Words which, had Nero listened to, he might have averted his nightmarish downfall. No plague has cost the human race more dear. You will see slaughterings and poisonings, accusations and counter-accusations, sacking of cities, ruin of whole peoples. the persons of princes sold into slavery by auction, torches applied to roofs, and fires not merely confined within city walls, but making whole tracts of country glow with hostile flame. See the foundations of the most celebrated cities hardly now to be discerned. They were ruined by anger. See deserts extending for many miles without an inhabitant. They have been desolated by anger. Therefore, we can learn that anger is powerful, but when left unchecked, it blinds us, clouds our judgment, and destroys everything in its path. Unlike Nero, we must recognize anger when it arises and learn to master it. That is why in the next video, I'll show you how to harness the power of anger and use it to your ultimate advantage. I invite you to support the channel. Like, share, and subscribe, and stay tuned for more intriguing topics in the future. See you next time.